Hare Krishna. So today is a very special day. It's Gopastami, and we see that some of the cowherd residents of Vrindavan have come to enliven us today here at New Goloka. Last night I was very excited that it was Gopastami, so I mentioned to Champakalata, why not everyone dress like the residents of Vrindavan, the cowherds? And I said, do you think it's too late to ask the girls to do it? Because it was already last night. And she goes, no, they're very spontaneous. It's never too late. So I wanted to thank them and of course their mother for coming this morning and helping to enliven us. So today is also the disappearance day of many great personalities. Gadadhar Das Goswami. So it's a disappearance day, and I wanted to also mention that often people get it confused. It's not Gadadhar Pandit, who is part of the Panchatattva, but it's Gadadhar Das, and we'll read briefly about him. And it is also the disappearance day of Dhananjaya Goswami, and we'll read briefly, and also the great Srinivasacharya. So to give a class on all these personalities and in Gopastami would require a larger time. So I'm going to briefly speak about these different personalities, encourage you to research today, and to pray for them for the mercy that we can appreciate the wonderful Leela of Gopastami today. So as is our tradition, we'll start with singing the Lamentation Due to Separation by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, Saparshada Gora Viraha Vilapa. And this very much applies to Srinivasacharya because wherever he went, one of the great personalities had just left. And so he was very much lamenting. Yeah, Nilo Premadana Karuna Pracho Hey no Prabhu Gota Gela Acharya Thakur. Kamora Swarurupa Kasa Nanta Kadasa Raghu Nata Patita Bhava Kamora Bhatta Yuga Kaha Kavira Eka Kale Kota Gela Kora Natara Pashane Kutiba Ma Gauranga Sunera Niti Kota Gele Babo. Oh. Say Saba Sangera Sange Ye Koilo Dila As. Say Sanga Napaya Kande Nado Tamada As. Say Sanga Napaya Kande Nado Tamoda As. Ye Anilo Premadana Karuna Pracho. Hey no Prabhu Kota Gela Charya Tako. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Nitta Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitta Gaura Haribo. Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, Shri Radhe. He who brought the treasure of divine love, who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivas Acharya gone? Where are my Sarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to attain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavakacharya Stotara Satashishimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pavakacharya Stotara Satashishimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Sridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Seko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopanasya Mukund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Ki Jai. Shri Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Dwarka Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai. Shri Munamai Ki Jai. Shri Gangamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga Gopastami Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to offer my respects to all the assembled Vaishnavas, Drishta Prabhu, Srila Gurudev, Bhatta Gopal, and Kamalini, and all my superiors, and all of my friends and well-wishers, and to Srila Prabhupada, and all our guests. So I'm going to speak briefly on the Gaudiya history, and it will be very briefly because somehow or other my iPad is running out. So the first devotee I'm going to speak about is Sri Gadadhar Goswami, and I wanted to remind everyone that that is different than Gadadhar Pandit from the Panchatattva. So it's explained that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has basically two groups of associates. One group, such as the Davasada Gopals, Abhiram Gopals, Gordasi Pandit, Dhananjaya, and others, serve Sri Nityananda Prabhu in the mood of Sakya, Rasa, friendship. The second group always stay merged in the mellow of Madhura, Rasa, conjugal love. So there's the two groups. Some are in the mood of Sakya, which would be like Krishna's friends. Some would be in Madhura, which is like the gopis of Vrindavan. Sri Gadadhar Goswami is a united form of Chandrakanti Gopi, an expansion of Radharani's effulgence. So Gadadhar Pandit is actually not different than Srimati Radharani. And here it's explained that Gadadhar Goswami is an expansion of the effulgence of Radharani and a united form of Chandrakanti Gopi. And Purnananda, an expansion of Lord Balaram's girlfriend. So because Gadadhar Goswami is also in the line of Nityananda, was not different than Balaram, and is in the conjugal mood, then is also the girlfriend of Lord Balaram. So these things are beyond our understanding, but just by hearing them is very enlivening. Thus, Gadadhar Das was an associate of both Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, both. Krishnadas Kaviraj describes Lord Chaitanya as Radha Bhava Udviti Suvalita, characterized by the emotions and bodily luster of Srimati Radharani. Gadadhar Das is a Diyuti luster. Gadadhar Das is sometimes called the personification of Sri Radhika's divine effulgence. So Gadadhar, he traveled with Lord Nityananda. He was very absorbed in the mood of this Madhurya Ras, and at different times he would actually start speaking like a gopi when he was traveling with Lord Nityananda. He delivered many of Bengal's countless countless sinners. And he was always absorbed in Krishna Prem, dancing madly and chanting in ecstasy. And it's explained that he was the one that was chanting and dancing in ecstasy that actually approached the Kazi and convinced the Kazi the importance of chanting. And here we all know that story where he says, I'll chant Hare Krishna tomorrow. But Gadadhar Dasi was so happy because you've already chanted the holy names. So what we can learn from this actually is that when one becomes absorbed in chanting and hearing, when one has the mercy of Lord Nityananda, when one has the mercy of one's guru by following strictly, one has the mercy of Srimati Radharani, then naturally whoever they meet will be attracted to hearing and chanting about Krishna. It's not anything that has to be forced. So we can come up with so many different material ideas, but Prabhupada always said, purity is a force. So along with utility, along with the other aspects, first we have to have that purity which comes through hearing and chanting and rendering humble service. So as I mentioned briefly, he was the one that convinced the Kazi to chant nicely. And that Kazi himself took shelter of Gadadhar Das Goswami, and his samadhi is in the 64 Samadhis area. So if you've been to Vrindavan, you might have visited that area. So next we're going to briefly read about Dhananjaya. Okay. Dhananjaya Pandit. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat describes Dhananjaya Pandit as Vilakashana Mahanta, having all characteristics of a great personality. He took part in Lord Gaurachandra's Navadvip Kirtan pastimes before moving to Vrindavan on Mahaprabhu's order. So we see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he had many of his associates move to Vrindavan. He had a mission for them there. So when we go to Vrindavan, we should go under the instruction of our spiritual master and have a mission. Carrying only a Kamadalu, but remaining absorbed in love of Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya, he traveled widely and preached. He established deities Gaurnitai, Sri Gopinath, and Damodar. In Braja Leela, he is Vasudama, one of Lord Balaram's Dwadadasa Gopals. His samadhi is also in the 64 Samadhi area. So he was in the Gopal line, as we spoke briefly when we read about Gadadhar, that there's the Gopal line and the Madhurya line. And then Srinivasacharya, Gurudev, were you going to speak on him tonight some? I'd like if you can speak on him because he's so important and I don't want to just jump over him. Srinivasacharya is extremely important in our line. He comes in the 3rd generation, and tonight you can hear about him from Bhakti Krishna Goswami. So I'm going to start my class today on Gopastami. And first I will just read a verse which we've already read in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And that verse is Canto 10, Chapter 21, verse 15. And I'll just read it myself because of the time. It is. It came up wrong on the... Sorry. It came up wrong on the iPad. Okay, now we're back to the right verse. Okay. Shri Sukuvacha Tatascha Paganda Vaya Shrito Vashe Babu Bantostu Pashu Pala Samato Gashcharayanto Sakabi Samam Padir Brindarandan Punya Attiva Chakrati. My iPad just went out. Can you scroll, Gurudev? Yeah, my iPad just decided to go out. No, I'll just do it because we're limited on time. Sukadev Goswami said, when Lord Rama and Lord Krishna attained the age of Paganda, 6 to 10, while living in Vrindavan, the cowherd men allowed them to take up the task of tending the cows, engaging thus in the company of their friends. The two boys rendered the land of Vrindavan most auspicious by imprinting upon it the marks of their lotus feet. Purport. Lord Krishna wanted to encourage his cowherd boyfriends who had been swallowed by Aghasura and then stolen by Lord Brahma. Therefore, the Lord decided to bring them into the palm tree forest known as Talavan, where there were many delicious ripe fruits, since Lord Krishna's spiritual body had apparently grown Krishna. Since Lord... I keep losing this place. Okay. There were many delicious fruits. Since Lord Krishna's spiritual body had apparently grown slightly in age and strength, the senior men of Vrindavan, headed by Nanda Maharaj, decided to promote Krishna from the task of herding calves to the status of a regular cowherd boy. He would now take care of the full-grown cows, bulls in action. Out of great affection, Nanda Maharaj had previously considered Krishna too small and immature to take care of full-grown cows and bulls. It is stated in the Kartika Mahatma section of the Padma Purana. Sukalasta Kartike 2, Smita Gopastami Buddhahi Tat Dinat Vasudeva Bud Gopa Tad Dinad Vasudeva Bud Gopa Purvan to Vataspaha. The 8th lunar day of the bright forenight of the month of Kartik is known by authorities as Gopastami. From that day, Lord Vasudeva served as a cowherd, whereas previously it attended the calves. The word Pandai indicates that Lord Krishna blessed the earth by walking on her surface with his lotus feet. The Lord wore no shoes or other footgear, but walked barefoot in the forest, giving great anxiety to the girls of Vrindavan, who feared that his soft lotus feet would be injured. Om Gana Timarandasya Gana Gana Shalakaya Chaksu Militanyana Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So today we're also going to be speaking from Gopal Champu and also Srila Prabhupada's Krishna book, because that's from Krishna book is where we first heard of these things. So there were actually 2 Gopastamis. Like in ISKCON, we have 2 initiations, first and second Harinam and Brahminical. So there's actually 2 Gopastamis that take place. So as we know, many demons were being sent by Kamsa, and there was a great disturbance taking place within Vrindavan. As a young child, the Putana demoness had come, and the residents of Vrindavan were in great anxiety. And then finally the twin Arjuna trees, had fallen. There was a falling of the cart when Krishna was young. So Krishna has his different stages. He has his different stages, his Kumara and his Boganda. This is speaking about his Poganda. But even in his Kumara stage, in his Bala stage, so many calamities were coming. So as Prabhupada explains in the Krishna book, actually the elder cowherd men, they started being concerned. Mother Yasoda was in anxiety. What's going to happen to Krishna? And so they just there's a council of elders. They have a counselor. There's Nanda Baba and his brother Upananda. And they all would meet together to discuss. And so their discussion, it's always Krishna Katha. Just like when we have meetings, it should be centered on Krishna. So they were very, very concerned what's going to take place. So after this incident, I'm going to read from Prabhupada. All the elder cowherd men assembled together, and Nanda Maharaj presided. They began to consult among themselves how to stop the great disturbance of Mahavan on account of the demons. So we know first Krishna was in Mathura, then he was transferred to Gokul. So his early pastimes are taking place in Gokul. Upananda, the brother of Nanda Maharaj, was present. He was considered to be learned and experienced, and he was a well-wisher of Krishna and Balaram. He was a leader, and he addressed the meeting as follows. My dear friends, Now we should leave here for another place, because we are continually finding that great demons are coming here to disturb the peaceful situation, and they are especially attempting to kill the small children. Just consider Putana and Krishna. It was simply by the grace of Lord Hari that Krishna was saved from the hands of such a great demon. So it's like they're not thinking Krishna's God, they're thinking Hari, Narayan. Next, the whirlwind demon took Krishna away in the sky, but again by the grace of Lord Hari he was saved, and the demon fell down on a stone slab and died. Very recently, this child was playing between two trees, and the trees fell down violently, and yet there was no injury to the child. So Lord Hari saved him again. Just imagine this calamity if this child or any other child playing with him were crushed by the falling trees. Considering all these incidents, we must conclude that this place is no longer safe. Let us leave. We have all been saved from different calamities by the grace of Lord Hari. Now we should be cautious and leave this place and reside somewhere where we can live peacefully. And in the Gopal Champu, there's a very elaborate conversation that takes place on this topic. I think we should go to the forest known as Vrindavan, where just now there are newly grown plants and herbs. It is very suitable for pasturing ground for our cows, and we and our families of gopis with their children can peacefully live there. Near Vrindavan is Govardhan Hill, which is very beautiful, and there are newly grown grass and fodder for the animals. So there will be no difficulty in living there. I therefore suggest that we start immediately for that beautiful place, as there is no need to waste any more time. Let us prepare all our carts immediately, and if you like, let us go, keeping all the cows in front. So immediately, because they were concerned for Krishna's welfare and Balaram, they were ready to leave. At first they were saying, oh, all the trees have been destroyed, and Mahavan, we need to go. But it was their desire to protect Krishna. They didn't care. They were ready to leave their house, leave everything. So their bullock carts are different than the bullock carts we picture today in Vrindavan. They were 2 stories explained in the Gopal Champu. And in the bottom story, there was plenty of facility for cooking and preparing. And they packed all their articles on them. And the women rode on the bullock carts, and the men were out walking with the cows. They put the cows in front. And it was very, very beautiful procession to behold. So they were going to be crossing from one side of the Yamuna to the other. We know Vrindavan has 12 forests. So Krishna was going to give his mercy to all the different forests of Vrindavan. That's why when we go to Vrindavan on Parikram, we visit all the different forests where Krishna's pastimes took place and become absorbed. So then what happens is they're going on the carts. I'm going to keep it brief. Prabhupada gives a very nice explanation, but I want to go a little briefly. So they're going through the different forests, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything is coming from him. He's the creator of everything. But he's just a young boy. He's not remembering, I'm the Supreme Lord, this is my creation. And so he's fascinated. He's sitting on the bullock cart with Mother Yasoda and Balaram and Rohini, and he's questioning them. And then he's talking to his father. What are those animals over there with trees on their head? Because it's the first time he's seen deers that have those big horns. So what are the trees doing on the heads of those deers? And his father explains to him. And what are those birds that are singing so beautiful? Oh, Krishna, Ananda Baba says, those are parrots. And what is that beautiful bird that is dancing? Oh, that is a peacock. So there were all the different animals and birds. They were all coming out to greet Krishna. This was like the perfection of their life, that Krishna was going through the forest. And all the animals, the birds, the trees, they were greeting him. So what happens is, when they arrive there in Vrindavan, and the grasses are so beautiful, and the environment is so sublime, and the cowherds are going out to bring the cows out, Krishna and Balaram, they start becoming very restless. They don't want to just stay home with Mother Yasoda and Rohini. And although they're young, they're still too young to go out with the cows. They beg, oh, Papa, Papa. Yes, Banda Baba, please, can we go with you? Can we go out with you today? And of course, he rubs his head and smells it, and he's so happy to take Krishna and Balaram. And so he says, oh, yes, you can come. So Krishna and Balaram, they start going out with Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men. Meanwhile, back at the house, Mother Yasoda and Rohini, they're not happy about this. This is too dangerous. They're just young, tender boys. They haven't even reached the stage of going out with the cows. This is too dangerous. These cows are very big. They can get crushed. And what they're really thinking inside is, I can't be separated. Because Krishna, when he came to Vrindavan, he established these different relationships. In his early childhood, he established that love of the mother and father, that Vatsalya Prem, and he brought Mother Yasoda to the highest love. And so she wanted to keep her Krishna home. She didn't want to see that he was starting to grow up, that he wanted to put on his own dhoti, and she was happy when he couldn't do it right. She didn't want to see that. She wanted him to stay, my little Bala, who I tie up with a rope of my love. But meanwhile, Krishna was seeing, this is a playground. This is such an adventure. So his mood was starting to switch from the point of his giving his love, his reciprocation only so much to his mother and his father and the elders. Of course, he was giving to everyone, but it was focused in that area. Then his focus is starting to switch now, where he will be spending more time with his friends and sharing with his friends and more with the cows and the calves. So finally what happens is Mother Yasoda forbids it. She's not allowed to go. And Yasoda and Rohini, they really ruled. Nanda Baba was the king, but they ruled things. Mother Yasoda said no, and that was that. So Krishna was not going to be controlled by that. And so he started crying and screaming and throwing a tantrum that he wasn't allowed to go. And everybody was very concerned because Krishna was so upset. So finally, again, they all met, the elders met, and they had a discussion. They decided, well, let Krishna take out the cows. Not the cows, let him take the calves. Because if he takes the calves, he'll be very close to the house and be protected, and he'll be satisfied. So that is actually the first Gopastami, the first initiation that takes place. So there's actually a big festival that Krishna is taking out the calves. Now, when the Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys, when they're all very young and playing, all the gopis are also very young and playing. So they're like playing in the sandbox at the same time. There wasn't the distinction between boys and girls then. So also at that particular time, also, when the gopis see that the cowherd boys are going out, they also are going to dress themselves and to go out. And we'll see when Krishna hits the Bhagonda age that Radharani actually takes on the clothes of Subal because she looks like him and goes out to join the fun. So soon Krishna and Balaram had grown sufficiently to be given charge of the calves. Cowherd boys from the very beginning of their childhood are trained to take care of the cows, and their first responsibility is to take care of the little calves. So Krishna was a little younger than normal, but it's explained that Krishna grew very fast, that he had like a year and a half for everyone else. So along with the other little cowherd boys, Krishna and Balaram went into the pasturing ground and took charge of the calves, and they played with their playmates. While taking charge of the calves, sometimes the two brothers played on their flutes, and sometimes they played with amalaka fruits and bale fruits, just as small children play with balls. Sometimes they danced and made tinkling sounds with their ankle bells. Sometimes they made themselves into bulls and cows by covering themselves with blankets. Thus Krishna and Balaram played. The two brothers also used to imitate the sounds of bulls and cows and play like two bulls fighting. So this goes on to explain how they took on the pastime like young boys and girls, and because they were close to the house, everyone was satisfied. And how satisfied were those calves? because Krishna personally took care of each of them. He massaged the calves. He hugged the calves. He talked to the calves. He had names for each of the calves. So such a loving relationship. So just like in our own life, we think sometimes, if I go somewhere else, everything will be better. The same things won't keep happening. Or even the temple, we think, oh, if this person leaves, everything will be fine. But there's always a slot to be filled. So it's not like Krishna and Balaram went to Vrindavan as their elders had arranged, and then no demons came. So very shortly, we see that after they are there in Vrindavan, more demons are to come. They're on the bank of the Yamuna, and the demon Vatsasura in the shape of a calf comes, wanting to kill the brothers. Then Bakasura comes, and he wants to kill them. So there's just so many different calamities that happen. And Krishna's always saving everyone, yet somehow or other, out of pure love, the residents of Vrindavan, they're only thinking that Lord Hari is saving them because Nanda Baba is worshipping Shalagram. They don't want to think of Krishna any other way. So now the cowherd boys are very happy because they're with Krishna. And the residents of Vrindavan, they're starting to feel intense separation, waiting, when will Krishna come home? When will we see him? And as when they're with the calves, they're not gone that long. But all of a sudden, as we see in this verse, Krishna comes to the age where it's time for him to take over the responsibility. Like in the Varnashram system, the children were trained often into the activities of the parents. Just like here we see Sundari, that she's going on the altar like her mother and doing deity worship. It's very natural for her. And Ishwara Chaitanya is going in the kitchen and cooking for Krishna because it's what he's seen his parents do. So Krishna is always bringing up these points of dharma when he wants to get his way. So he wants to go out and he wants to take the cows. And Nanda Baba is just thinking, you're too young and precious, and you're not strong enough. And he's like, but it's our dharma, it's our karma, it's our dharma. We must take the cows out. But they're, no, we need you to stay home. And Mother Yasoda is just like, let him stay home. And she sees he's putting on his dhoti. He's feeling shy because he's coming to the Bakunda age. He doesn't want to be undressed in front of his mother. So they're feeling great anxiety. So he's a diplomat. He's very intelligent. And he knows that his parents are overly attached to him at this point. So he starts going to his uncles and the elder cowherd men and discussing with them the situation. So then there's another meeting. And during that meeting, it's presented, Krishna's strong. And he's like showing, I'm strong. Krishna's strong enough. He can take out the cows now. So this is a great, great festival, a great celebration. And all the residents of Vrindavan, they become so nicely dressed. Everybody should dress very nicely today. Everyone should dress nice. We're not dressing nice because we want to attract people to our body. I mean, that's just violence, actually. To try to attract people to ourselves is violence. But we're dressing nicely because we want to remind everyone of the glorious pastimes of Krishna, taking out the cows. So in Vrindavan today, we don't do it here, but in Vrindavan today, in all the temples, Radharani is dressed as a cowherd boy. So why is she dressed this way? And it's explained because when Radharani saw that there was such a big festival going on, and Krishna, all the cowherd boys were going out with the cows, she also wanted to go out with them. And this is actually before the Madhurya Rasa really gets in full swing, but she wants to go out and be a part of the festival. So because she looks like Subal, he comes and brings his clothes, and then she happily goes out and enjoy this festival of love. So this is such a beautiful festival. And we know Mother Yasoda, she's so worried. Oh, and the gopis are worried. Your soft feet. Because Mother Yasoda wanted to give Krishna leather shoes. And Krishna was, I will not wear leather. I will not wear shoes unless all the cows wear shoes. And the message is there for us also. We don't want to wear something that comes from the body of a cow, actually. We prefer not to do that. But Krishna's like, I'm not going to wear shoes unless you make shoes for all the cows. And there's, how many thousands and thousands and thousands of cows, which was impossible. So there's Krishna with the cows. And on this day of Gopastami, the cows are painted with turmeric. If you've ever been in Vrindavan on Gopastami, or also on Govardhan Puja, you take your hands and you put them in turmeric, and then you put prints on the cow body, and you worship the cow. So the worship of the cow is so important. The worship of the Brahmanas, this is so important to Krishna. So this is a major, major festival. And the earth knew that Krishna was going to place his lotus feet on the earth. So before Krishna's coming, it was arranged that all the cows out of service, it's explained in the Gopal Champu, they're all stamping down the ground. They're stamping down the thorns so that when Krishna goes on Govardhan, he doesn't feel the thorns, because there's many thorns, but they've all stamped them down so that everything is very soft and luxurious and beautiful. And it's such a festival. All the trees are greeting Krishna. All the birds are greeting Krishna. So this is Vrindavan. This is Vrindavan. And Krishna and Balaram are going out, and the gopis are looking. When will they come back? When will they come back? And so much we can learn from this. One, we should desire to follow them into Vrindavan. Like, do I really need to stay here and rot? Or can I follow them into Vrindavan? And how do we follow them into Vrindavan? We can see what is that mood of those in separation, that they're looking. When will Krishna come? When will he come? When will I see the dust raised? If you've ever been in Vrindavan, like one time I was in Vrindavan on top of an apartment that was near Sanatana Goswami's Madan Mohan temple. And I was up very high. And you look across, you could see the Yamuna. And the sun was setting. And there were cows coming. And there was dust in the air. I guess that would be an Udipana, Gurudev. So you see the cows and you see the dust coming. And you're thinking, when will I be able to see Krishna coming back with the cowherd boys? So this is such a beautiful day. It's such a wonderful celebration. And we should take advantage of these wonderful activities that Srila Prabhupada has given us. And I encourage everyone, although we had read these verses previously, on these days there's great potencies. And go back and read Krishna book and Killing of the Demons, Vatasura and Bakasura, and also Krishna's going out into the forest, the different chapters. And we just honored Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day. So on this day, I would like to offer my flowery devotion, Pushpanjali, unto Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. And I would like to thank him for giving us this Krishna book, because one of the greatest gifts that Srila Prabhupada gave all of us, many of us before we knew anything about Krishna, was a gigantic book. Like, it ended up, actually, I only have a minute, but I'll just tell briefly. I wasn't always living at New Goloka. So one time I was living in South America on a big hacienda in Colombia, where there were lots of cows and very simple life, no electricity, no running water. And out of nowhere, someone came to visit us from America. And what did they bring? They brought Krishna book. So I got to read Krishna book, and it changed my life, and it brought